So we're in Unit 3 Graphing, and this is Lesson 4 on intercepts. The objectives of this lesson is that you can find the x and y intercepts aligned if you're given a graph or if you're given an equation. Remember that intercepts are where lines cross the x and y axis. So an intercept is a verb. It's where it intersects the x or y axis, something stopping it along the way. So you'll see the words x-intercept and y-intercept. It just wants to know where the line's going to cross, the x or y axis. Remember that your x-axis is the horizontal number line. So any line through the middle, think like a meridian street. A vertical line is your y-axis. So a quick review. How would you describe the slope of the graph to the right? When we say describing it, is it positive, negative, zero, or no slope? If you remember in our previous lessons I said to write your name on the line, and if you see your name going uphill, then that is a positive slope. So what do we know about the line and the x-axis? Well, here's our x-axis here. Look where it's crossing. Its x-intercept is at the point 1, 0. What do we know about the y-axis? If you look at the y-axis, that's the line that's going up and down. You see the line intersects at the -2, or at point 0, -2. You see the similarity and differences with the points? The x-intercept, the 0 always falls in the y spot, and the y-intercept, the 0 always falls in the x spot. So the x-intercept of this blue line is located at -3, 0. If it's on the x-axis, whoops, I accidentally touched it. And the y-intercept is at 4, 0. It's where the line crosses the y-axis. Sometimes they will use the letters A and B in equations or inside those parentheses to represent any number that falls on those 2 points. A, 0 is your x-intercept, and 0, B is your y-intercept. So let's practice this. What is the x-intercept of this graph right here? -4, 0. It's right there. What is the y-intercept? 0, 2. Keep in mind, whenever you're asked for an intercept, it is always a point or an ordered pair. Don't just write 2. Write it as an ordered pair. Try another one. What is the x-intercept? The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, so it's right here at 4, 0. Make sure you don't get your x and y-intercepts mixed up. So your y-axis is here, therefore your y-intercept is here at 0, -2. All right, last example. X-intercept. Where's your x-axis? It's right here, so there's your x-intercept of 2, 0. And your y-intercept, that's the y-line, is at 4, 0, or 0, 4. Now that you can find the x and y-intercept from a graph, let's learn how to find the x and y-intercept from an equation. Remember when we were looking at the x-intercept, we said that the y was always equal to 0? And when we saw the y-intercept, our x was always equal to 0. Well, that's what you can do to find the x and y-intercept if you're given an equation. Replace either the x or y with 0 so that you can find its intercept. For example, in question 9, it says to find the x-intercept, we let y equal to 0. So what you'll do is rewrite the entire equation, but everywhere you see a y, instead of writing y, put a 0 there. And then solve for x. Well, 6 times 0 is just 0. If we brought 0 to the other side as plus 0, then it's still just 5x is equal to 60. Because if we add 0 over here, it's the same thing, just cancels those out. And then we would have to take what? Our x, and we'll divide it by 5. I know that looks confusing. I don't really like these fill-ins. So that leaves us with x equals, 60 divided by 5 is 12. If you have a calculator, it makes it a whole lot easier. So x is equal to 12, therefore what's the x-intercept? Remember, the x-intercept is a point, so rewrite it as, okay, if x is equal to 12, that's when y is equal to 0. So 12 comma 0 would be the x-intercept. To find the y-intercept, we just do the opposite. Instead of replacing our y with x, or with 0, we're going to replace our x with 0. Take the same original equation, but now instead of replacing all the y's with zeros, we're going to replace all the x's with 0. And so we solve for y. 5 times 0 is 0. Well, that 0 isn't really needed, so you have negative 6y is equal to 60. Then this is still negative 6y. We'll divide both sides by negative 6. The negative 6's cancel out, and you get y is equal to, well, 60 divided by 6 is, well, positive divided by a negative equals a negative, and 60 divided by 6 is 10. So if y is equal to negative 10, how would you write this as a y-intercept? An intercept is a point, so you need to write it as an ordered pair. 0, negative 10. So we'll do two guided practice problems together, and you'll have some of these on your homework. Try to do them on your paper if you want to push pause and then check with me to make sure you've got the right idea. If you're stuck, you want to watch this first one to be demonstrating, then you do the next one on your own and then push play to check your work. So the x and y intercepts. First, let's find out what the x-intercept is. So the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So we replace everywhere we see a y with 0 and solve for x. Well, 3 times 0 is just 0. That cancels out. You're left with 2x is equal to 12. And then you divide both sides by 2. So x is equal to 6. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And therefore the intercept, remember as a point, would be 6, 0, not 0, 6. Because remember, every coordinate has an x and a y value, so it makes sense. If x is equal to 6, you would have to write your 6 first. To find your y-intercept, you can do the same thing, but this time we want to use when x is equal to 0. So just the opposite, you replace it. 2 times 0 not equals plus 3y is equal to 12. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, so you can cross that off, and you'll get 3y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 3, which will cancel out those 3's, so therefore y is equal to 4, and so the y-intercept is equal to 0, 4. One thing that will make this easier, yes, you're replacing it with 0, but I like to call this like the cover-up method. You could take your finger, if you're solving, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know when we just realized that it had stopped recording, so I'm just going to back this problem up again. I apologize if you're seeing parts of this problem a second time. So here's your practice. If you are solving for the x-intercept, then you want to know what is x equal to when y is equal to 0. So you just rewrite your equation, but replace the y with 0, and solve for x. 3 times 0 equals 0, so that just cancels out, and you get 2x is equal to 12. Divide by 2, which cancels out those 2's, therefore x is equal to 6. Therefore the the x-intercept would be 6, 0, because x comes before y. If you're solving for your y-intercept, you want to know what is y equal to when x is equal to 0. Rewrite the equation, but this time instead of replacing y with 0, you're replacing x. 2 times 0 equals 0, so you get 3y is equal to 12. Divide both sides by 3, and you'll find that y is equal to 4. Therefore, the y-intercept would be equal to 0, 4. Alright, try this next problem on your own. Push pause until you're done, and then push play so that you can check your work to see if you did it correctly. Alright, if you're trying to find the x-intercept, you would replace the y with 0. Oops. And solve for x. So we'd have to, in this case, subtract 6 from both sides. So negative 6 is equal to 3x. Divide by 3. So x is equal to negative 2. So your x-intercept is negative 2, 0. To solve for your y-intercept, you do the same thing, except for we're going to replace the x with 0. So 3 times 0 is 0. This one's easy, so y is just equal to 6. Therefore, your y-intercept is equal to 0, 6.